You keep staring at the screen, waiting for proof that you exist, watching the numbers stay nailed to zero, as if the world has already judged you and found you unworthy. And every second that passes in this silence feels like a blade pressing deeper into your chest, because it does not just say nobody is watching. It says maybe nobody ever will. And that idea burns like acid because you've been feeding yourself the lie that effort guarantees attention, that if you suffer enough, the world will reward you. But here it's the truth that crushes most people before they even start. The world owes you nothing. And this silence you fear is not failure. It is the test, and only those who bleed through it without applause are ever forged into something unbreakable. You sit there at night when everyone else is sleeping, and the glow of the screen feels like the only living thing in the room, and you upload another piece of your soul into the void, hoping this will be the one that finally makes them see you, but the void just swallows it and stays silent. And in that silence, you hear the faint cracking sound of your own spirit, as doubt coils around you like smoke, whispering that you are wasting your life, that you should quit, that nobody cares, and part of you wants to listen, wants to stop bleeding into something that gives nothing back but deeper than that. Fear is something older, something made of stone, something that whispers back, keep going, because this pain is proof you are on the path the weak never survive. You have to understand this now, or you will break like the rest. Attention is not the reward. Discipline is, and until you let go of your hunger to be seen, you will never become strong enough to deserve being seen, because what you want right now is comfort, but what will save you is war. And war demands you stand alone in the desert of zero views while your mind screams for escape and you refuse to move until the screaming dies. This desert you are standing in now is where Marcus Aurelius stood as plague devoured his empire and betrayal closed in, and he wrote alone by the faint light of a dying candle, telling himself that duty does not wait for applause. And it is where Seneca the Younger stood, ordered to open his own veins for daring to speak truth, dying calm because he had already killed his fear of being forgotten. And it is where Epictetus stood, once a beaten slave, body shattered, voice unheard, quietly building an empire inside his mind because he knew, if you wish to be invincible, you must want nothing outside your control. And now it is where you stand, trembling in the silence, thinking it means you are losing, when in truth it means you have been chosen to walk the brutal road most will run from. The silence is not your enemy. It is your forge, and the pain you feel is the hammer that will either shape you or shatter you, and the only difference between the broken and the unbreakable is that the unbreakable keep walking when there is no reason left except the choice to keep walking. You must tear out this infection that tells you need validation, because as long as you chase the drug of being seen, you will be a slave. And slaves do not build empires, they build cages, and every time you check your numbers you are tightening the bars around your own spirit, because every moment you give to hoping for attention is stolen from the work that could make you immortal. If this truth is cutting into you now, if it is burning away the excuses you have wrapped yourself in, then act on it. Subscribe to this channel not for entertainment, not for comfort, but as your first declaration of war, as a vow to walk closer to God, to anchor yourself to discipline, to be blessed every day with stories that sharpen your spirit instead of feeding your weakness. And write something in the comments as your oath: strength, faith, light, discipline. Carve it into the world so you can never retreat from it. Because from this point forward there is no turning back, and the path you are stepping onto is lined with bones. And only those who kill their hunger for applause will survive long enough to be crowned by the desert, not with fame, not with followers, but with the kind of power that cannot be taken. This is where the war begins. Not against the algorithm, not against the crowd, but against yourself, against the voice that whispers you are wasting your time, against the weakness that waits for applause before it moves, and if you do not kill that voice, it will kill you, quietly, politely, over years. So stand here in this silence that wants you to break and build anyway, because the silence is lying. It wants you to believe you are invisible, but if you endure it long enough, it will be forced to kneel. and when it does, you will not just succeed. You will become unstoppable. You start waking up before the sun, not because you want to, but because you've begun to understand that wanting no longer matters. And at first the silence feels like a grave, heavy and absolute, and it presses down on you like the weight of a dead world, mocking your effort, daring you to keep pouring your life into something that offers nothing back. And you sit in that quiet thinking, maybe you are insane. Maybe everyone who ever tried this was insane. Maybe the sane thing would be to quit, to rest, to stop clawing at a door that will never open. But then you see the truth slithering beneath those thoughts. The door is not locked. It just demands more than most are willing to give. The routine becomes chains wrapped around your wrists. Each day another link tightening, and you drag those chains through the digital desert while your lungs burn, and your mind begs for release. But you keep moving because you have realized the choice is no longer between continuing and stopping. It is between continuing and dying inside, and that realization, grim and cold, becomes your anchor. And as you stare into the pale glow of the screen, you feel like you are staring into the void itself, and the void does not blink, and the void does not care. And in that uncaring, you discover the first real spark of freedom. Marcus Aurelius speaks to you through centuries like wind through bones, telling you that if the pain is bearable, you must bear it, and if it is not, it will destroy you quickly and end your suffering. And his words are not comfort, but command. And you take them like nails hammered into your ribs because you understand now that pain is not a signal to stop. Pain is the proof you are exactly where you must be, and while others turn away from it screaming, you will walk deeper into it, until it breaks, or you do. And if it breaks first, you will rise. And if you break, you will rebuild harder. The days blur, dissolving into a loop of creation, revision, recording, editing, posting, and each upload is like dropping a stone into a bottomless well, never hearing it hit, never seeing ripples, and at some point you stop expecting ripples because you realize the sound is irrelevant. The impact is irrelevant. What matters is that you keep dropping stones until the well fills and becomes a foundation, and that realization hits like a blade. You are not here to be heard. You are here to build something so heavy it reshapes the ground whether or not anyone watches. Seneca the Younger appears like a statue of ash and iron in your mind, telling you that fortune has no power over the man who needs nothing, and those words burn like acid through your chest because you see how deeply you have depended on attention, how you've been crawling through the desert begging for droplets of validation like a dying animal, and you decide it ends here, that you will become whole even if no one ever looks at you, that you will carve yourself into a fortress. No, storm can breach, and as you make that vow your hands grow steadier, your eyes sharper, your fear smaller. The silence that once crushed you begins to hum like a secret rhythm, a subterranean music only you can hear, and it coils into your blood until you realize you're no longer forcing yourself to keep going. You are simply going, like breathing, and the exhaustion that used to choke you becomes background noise, and for the first time you feel something close to pride, not in what you've made, but in what you've endured, and that pride is not loud or bright, it is heavy, and cold, and solid, and it roots itself deep where doubt used to live. Epictetus steps from the shadows of your mind and tells you that you are not disturbed by events, but by the view you take of them, and his voice cleaves your thoughts open, because you see that your despair was never born from the silence itself. It was born from the belief that the silence should not exist. And when you kill that belief, the despair dies with it, and what remains is a stillness like stone, a stillness that does not care about applause or rejection, a stillness that only asks for the next step forward. Each act of creation becomes a hammer strike against the molten iron of your will, and you can feel the old version of yourself burning away, the one who created to be liked, to be noticed, to be comforted, and what rises in its place is someone alien, someone who does not care if he is seen, someone who creates not for growth but for war. Each video, another layer of armor welded to the soul. Each word, another scar, and you understand now what the world never tells you. This silence is not killing you, it is carving you. And when it finishes carving, you will not recognize yourself, and that is the point. And when you look back at the path you've crawled, littered with the corpses of your old selves, you realize the fear is gone, because the silence is no longer your enemy. It is your teacher, and its lessons are cruel but pure, and you will carry them like fire through the dark until the desert finally kneels. Not to give you applause, but to give you power. You have stopped asking when it will happen, because you have finally understood that asking is a form of weakness, a desperate grasp at control over forces that will never belong to you, and the moment you kill that question, something strange begins to grow in its place, something quiet and heavy like iron cooling after fire, a calm so dense it almost frightens you because you realize you have never known calm without hope tied to it. You have only known the fragile calm that depends on believing the breakthrough is coming, and now that belief is gone and the calm remains, which means it is real. This calm is not peace, it is power. It does not soothe you. It makes you immovable. You wake before the world stirs and the silence that once screamed now simply waits for you, and you sit down not to chase anything but to build. And that shift tears through your entire being like a slow earthquake because you realize you are no longer seeking growth as proof of your worth. You are using discipline to burn away everything unworthy inside you. And this is the first time your work stops feeling like a plea and starts feeling like war. Your thoughts try to rebel, spitting images of applause, spikes of graphs, the imagined roar of recognition. But you do not feed them now. You watch them rise like smoke and vanish, and in their absence something else appears. Clarity, sharp and cold, and it shows you a truth you've avoided. Most of what you've made until now has been hollow. Clever, perhaps, but empty, crafted to be consumed, not to endure, and this realization cuts you open because it means the version of you who built those things was driven by fear, not by purpose, and if you are to survive this desert, you will have to kill that version and leave his body behind in the sand. Marcus Aurelius walks through your mind like a shadow of bronze, telling you to look within because within is the fountain of good, and the words echo like hammers against stone because they reveal what you've been avoiding. You have been scavenging outside for worth when the only source has always been buried inside, rotting beneath layers of fear and hunger, and the desert has stripped away enough noise that you can finally hear the faint sound of that hidden spring. And you know, you must dig until your hands bleed if you want to reach it. So you begin to dig. You strip your days down to bone. No distractions, no noise, no validation. You wake in darkness and sit in the silence until your nerves buzz, and at first the silence howls like wolves tearing at your mind. But you stay, you breathe, and eventually the howling fades into a low hum. And in that hum, you hear your real voice for the first time. Not the voice shaped to please or chase trends, but the raw voice you buried because you feared it would not be loved, and it sounds harsh, cracked, defiant, alive, and it terrifies you because you know it will alienate many, but you also know this is the voice that might make you immortal. Seneca the Younger appears like a figure carved from smoke and embers, telling you that it is not that life is short, but that you waste much of it, and the words explode like a landmine under your chest because you see how much time you've burned trying to be liked instead of trying to be true, how many years you've traded for crumbs of attention, and rage surges through you, cold and surgical, and you decide you will waste nothing more, not a second, not a breath, not an ounce of your will. You tear your work apart. You gut your routines. You sharpen every sentence until it cuts. You carve away the filler, the fear, the softness, until what remains is raw and almost violent in its honesty. And when you read it back, you feel your pulse spike because this is not what you thought you were capable of. This is not what the old you could have made. And you realize the desert has not been starving you. It has been stripping you down so this could emerge. And still, The world is silent. The graphs lie flat. The comments stay empty. And for the first time, this does not wound you. Because now you understand the most brutal truth of all. The silence is not absence. It is resistance. And resistance is proof you are pushing against something real. And if you keep pushing, it will break before you do. Epictetus limps across the dunes of your mind, eyes burning like coals, telling you to first decide what you will be, and then do what you must do. And his words do not feel like advice, they feel like law, and you speak the words aloud as if carving them into your ribs. I will be relentless, I will be disciplined, I will be free. And something clicks into place, something final, and you know there is no version of you left who will quit. No possible future in which you stop, because this path is no longer what you are walking, it is what you have become. And as the sun rises over the same barren desert you've crossed for months, you feel nothing but steadiness. Because you know now the breakthrough may never come, and that is no longer a threat, it is liberation. Because if you can do this forever without reward, then nothing can break you. And if nothing can break you, you have already won. It happens so quietly you almost miss it, like a single grain of sand trembling in the endless stillness, and if you had blinked you would have never seen it, but something in you has become too sharp to miss anything now. So you notice the faintest movement on the horizon of your work, a single comment materializing out of the void like smoke solidifying into shape. Just a few words, almost nothing, yet they land like thunder in the stillness. This made me think. This helped me breathe. This changed something in me. Your chest tightens, and for a moment the desert flickers, the wind pauses, the silence bends, and you feel that old spark ignite deep in your gut. The spark you thought you had killed. The spark that once made you chase applause like a starving animal. And you can feel it trying to wake again, trying to pull you back into hunger, whispering, maybe it's working, maybe it's starting, maybe now you can ease up, and you stand there frozen because you know this is the most dangerous moment. So far, more dangerous than the emptiness, more dangerous than the despair, because this is the first taste of reward, and reward has destroyed more creators than failure ever could. You step back from the screen like it's a live explosive, because you know what happens if you let that spark grow. You've seen it devour others, seen them start bending their voice, twisting their vision, reshaping their soul to feed the crowd that has barely begun to notice them, and they think they are winning. They think they are rising, but you know they are rotting from the inside, and you will not let it happen to you. You will not let this tiny ripple erase everything the non-desert has carved into you. Marcus Aurelius appears walking beside you through the dunes, his armor gone, his cloak shredded by wind, his voice flat as iron. Receive success without arrogance and be ready to let it go. And the words hit you like a door slamming shut because you see the trap clearly now. How easy it would be to slip. How a single thread of pride could unravel the fortress of discipline you have spent months building stone by stone in the silence. So you turn away from the comment like turning from a mirage, and you return to the work as if nothing happened, because you know if you let this matter you will weaken, and if you weaken, the desert will kill you. The days keep coming like waves of heat off cracked stone, and you work through them, carving, shaping, bleeding your will into every frame, every word, every breath, and the ripples begin to multiply. Another comment, then another, a handful of new views here and there, still tiny, still nothing by the world's standards, yet to you they feel like tremors under the sand, like the desert shifting its weight, and the old hunger stirs again, soft but sharp, and you crush it before it. Can breathe, because you know this is how it starts. This is how the mind begins to rot, not with failure, but with the poison of almost succeeding. Seneca the Younger appears at the edge of your vision like a figure carved from shadowed marble, eyes cold as winter stone, reminding you that it is not the man who has too little who is poor, but the man who craves more, and the words stab into your chest because you see yourself reflected in them. See the part of you still aching for more. still twitching toward the dopamine spike of validation, and you snarl under your breath because you know you must kill that part completely, or it will crawl back stronger and devour everything. So you create a new ritual, one colder than anything before. You will not celebrate. You will not react. You will treat attention like silence and silence like air. You will give them the same weight? None. The world does not understand this discipline. It thinks discipline is pushing when things are hard, but this is something deeper. This is choosing to push harder when things start to work, because that is when most people stop sharpening the blade. They get lazy, they get soft, they get proud, and you will not. You will not let the first trickle of water dull the edge you forged in drought, because you know the drought is what gave you strength, and if you abandon it too soon, the strength will rot into weakness. Epictetus limps out of the mirage in your mind, cloak whipping in invisible winds, voice like stone cracking. If you wish to be invincible, want nothing outside your control, and the words rip the haze from your thoughts, because you remember the law, the desert carved into your bones. Views are not in your control. Comments are not in your control. Applause is not in your control. Only discipline is, and discipline is enough to make you unstoppable, so long as you never trade it for anything. So you bury yourself deeper in the work, you shut every window, silence every notification, and disappear into the grind until time itself dissolves, hours slipping like smoke through your fingers, and in that timeless place you find something even more dangerous than hunger. Momentum. Faint but real. The slow sense that something beneath the sand is beginning to move, and it thrills you. It terrifies you, and you whisper to yourself that it does not matter, because whether it moves or not, you will still be here tomorrow. Doing this, building this, becoming this, until the desert itself crumbles under your feet. And when you finally crawl out from the screen at dawn, body trembling, eyes burning, you see the faint glimmer of the first real crack in the silence, and you feel nothing but steel, because you know you will not chase the crack open. You will not rush toward it. You will not beg it to widen. You will let it widen on its own while you keep building as if nothing has changed, because nothing has changed. The world is still silent. The desert is still infinite. And discipline is still. The only thing that matters. The first wave does not crash like thunder. It creeps in like a rising tide, slow and patient, curling around your ankles before you notice, and by the time you realize what's happening, the ground beneath you has shifted, and what was once barren has begun to ripple with motion, comments multiplying, numbers ticking upward with mechanical regularity, each new view landing like a distant drumbeat echoing through the void that used to be absolute, and you stand there watching it, feeling the old hunger coil awake in your gut like a snake that has slept for months and suddenly smells blood. For a moment you almost let it happen, almost let the tide carry you, because this is what you told yourself you wanted all along. This is the thing you swore you were chasing, proof that you are not invisible, proof that you matter, and the idea burns bright and sweet for a heartbeat before you feel its poison sliding into your veins. The same poison that has destroyed countless others who stood where you now stand, and you remember their faces. The ones who began like you, forged in silence, sharp as obsidian, until the first taste of applause dulled them, until they reshaped their work to feed the crowd, until the discipline that made them great withered like muscle left unused. And you know this is how it starts, not with fame, but with almost, not with victory, but with comfort. You back away from the screen as if from a cliff edge, breathing hard, and you speak aloud into the empty room just to anchor yourself, saying you will not bend, you will not shape your voice to please them, you will not dilute your fire for their comfort, and the words come out raw, cracked, but solid, and they hold, because you know this is the moment that decides everything. Not whether you can rise, but whether you can rise without becoming hollow. Marcus Aurelius walks through the back of your mind like a shadowed colossus, voice low as stone grinding. Receive wealth or prosperity without arrogance, and be ready to let it go. and the words slam through your ribs because you see how arrogance hides in celebration, how it seeps into the cracks discipline leaves unguarded, how it whispers that you deserve this now, that you can slow down, that you have earned ease, and you crush the thought like a serpent's head because you know. Ease is death, and the desert does not forgive those who forget what forged them. So you move in the opposite direction. While the tide begins to rise, you double your weight. You sharpen your routines until they cut. You extend your hours until your body trembles. You work as if nothing has changed, because you know nothing has changed. The only thing that matters still lies inside you, and if that rots, no amount of applause can save you. The world starts murmuring your name, soft at first, then louder, like wind gathering through canyon walls, and you hear it, but you do not listen, because you remember what Seneca the Younger whispered to you in the silence. It is not the man who has too little who is poor, but the man who craves more. And you know this is what applause does. It creates craving. It feeds it. It grows it until it eats you from the inside out. So you starve it. You deny it. You treat praise like you once treated silence, as air, as nothing, as background. Still, it claws at you. Praise has claws sharper than hate. Hate you can fight. Praise seeps in while you sleep, soft and sweet, reshaping your thoughts before you can resist, and you catch yourself fantasizing, imagining spikes of graphs, imagining headlines, imagining becoming the thing they all talk about, and the fantasies disgust you now. They taste like rot, like sugar gone sour, and you tear them out like infected teeth, muttering under your breath that you would rather be invisible and pure than visible and weak. Epictetus appears in the doorway of your mind, cloaked in dust and fire, telling you that if you want to improve you must be content to be thought foolish and stupid, and the words land like chains snapping shut around your spine, because you see the truth inside them. The crowd only calls you wise when you are serving them. The moment you stop bending, they will call you arrogant, reckless, broken, and you must accept that gladly, or you will start bending again. So you let them call you what they will. You let them misunderstand, because discipline does not need to be understood. It only needs to be obeyed. The numbers climb higher. Some videos cross 1,000, then 5, then 10. Your inbox fills with invitations. People call you talented, visionary, gifted. You feel nothing, because you know the truth. They are not praising you. They are praising the mask you have built from your blood, and if you start believing it is your face, you will be lost. So you walk deeper into the fire instead of out of it. You strip your work down even further. You discard what is popular. You delete what feels easy. You attack every frame, every word, every thought with the same fury you once used to survive the silence. And as you do, the wave surges higher around you. Yet inside you, everything grows colder, denser, quieter, like stone sinking beneath a storm. The desert watches from the horizon. It remembers you. It waits for you to forget it. But you will not. You carry its laws etched into your bones, and you know they are the only thing keeping you from collapsing now that the world has finally started to notice. Because attention is not the reward, it is the trap, and you will not crawl into it. You will walk past it with eyes fixed on the endless line of the horizon, because you are not here to be seen. You are here to endure, and you will endure until the desert itself bows. The flood does not announce itself with a roar. It seeps into every corner like rising black water, and by the time you realize how high it has climbed, you are already standing knee-deep in it, comments erupting like sparks, numbers spinning faster than your eyes can follow, collaborations offered like fruit dripping from low branches. Every voice that once ignored you now reaching out with smiles made of sharpened glass, and all of it presses in at once like a storm without wind. And you stand there in the center of it, breathing slow, because you know this is not victory. This is ambush. This is the moment the desert has been preparing you to survive. The flood feels soft, almost gentle, and that is why it is lethal. Failure attacks your spirit directly, but comfort rots it silently from within, disguising decay as reward, whispering that you have earned the right to relax, that you have proven yourself and can stop sharpening your edge, and for a few days you believe it. You wake later, work slower, tell yourself you are pacing your energy, that you are being strategic, but somewhere in the back of your mind you feel the blade dulling, feel the cold discipline you forged in the silence melting. Like iron left too close to the fire, and you know if you do not act now, it will be too late. Marcus Aurelius rises from the depths of your thoughts like a monolith of bronze torn from the earth, his voice low and cold. It is not death that a man should fear, but never beginning to live, and the words slice into your chest like hooked steel because you understand what they mean here. The moment you stop becoming, you start dying, and comfort is the silent death that smiles as it kills you, so you throw your comforts into the fire, every one, because you would rather burn than soften. You would rather crawl bleeding through the desert again than watch the fortress you built crumble under your own laziness. You slaughter your routines and rebuild them harder. You cut your sleep back down to the bone. You clear your calendar until nothing exists except the work. You return to the page each morning before the world wakes, and the silence that once mocked you greets you like an old ally, and for a moment you almost feel whole again. Almost, because the flood still howls beyond the walls, still presses against your mind, still claws for your attention with hands made of gold, and you know this is the true danger. Not failure, not obscurity, not rejection, but success. Wrapping its fingers around your throat and squeezing softly until you stop. Fighting back. Seneca the Younger appears sitting cross-legged in the black water flooding your mind, eyes sharp as shattered marble, telling you that if you live according to nature, you will never be poor, but if you live according to opinion, you will never be rich, and the words slam through you like a hammer to stone because you realize you have begun to live according to opinion again, measuring your worth by their reactions, shaping your days around their hunger, and you spit the thought out. Like poison, because you remember who you were in the desert. You remember the silence and the weight and the cold certainty that nothing outside you mattered, and you decide it must be that way again, even if the world tears itself apart screaming your name. You sever ties. You ignore the messages piling in like fallen leaves. You leave offers unanswered until they rot. You stop reading comments. You stop checking numbers. You return to the void as if nothing has changed, because nothing has. The only thing that matters is whether you show up, sharpen the blade, and strike again. But comfort does not give up. It changes shape. It crawls into your muscles, into your breath, into the edges of your focus. It tells you to coast, to recycle what worked, to protect your momentum instead of risking it, and you almost listen because the logic is seductive. It dresses itself as strategy, but then you hear the faintest sound beneath it, a sound you remember from the earliest days, the sound of rot spreading through wood, and you know this is what happens to those who protect what they have. They stop becoming and start guarding, and guarding is the beginning of the end. Epictetus limps across the surface of your mind like a shadow carved from fire, his voice cutting clean through the noise. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants, and the words slam into your ribs like the swing of an axe, because you see how wants have crept back into your bones, how you have begun wanting safety, wanting praise, wanting comfort, and wants are chains, and you did not crawl through the desert breaking your chains only to wear new ones. Now, so you break them again, one by one, until your hands shake and your lungs feel hollow, but the fire inside you blazes hotter than it ever has. You return to the edge. You choose pain over ease. You choose risk over safety. You create work so sharp it cuts even you. And when you release it, the flood surges higher, roaring now, a tidal wall of attention crashing around you, yet inside you everything goes still as the desert was on the first day, because the noise no longer touches you. It washes past like wind through ruins, and you realize you are finally what the desert intended to build. Not just disciplined, but untouchable. And as you stand there with the flood screaming and the world clawing for pieces of you, you feel nothing but the weight of your will anchoring you like a mountain buried to its roots. And you know the truth the world will never say out loud. Success is just another form of silence, louder and more crowded, but silence all the same, and you survived the first silence, so you will survive this one too. The flood has become an ocean now, stretching as far as you can see, and the silence that once wrapped around you like a shroud has been replaced by a constant roar, relentless and deafening, voices chanting your name, headlines declaring you a visionary, offers pouring in faster than you can deny them, and for the first time you see fear flicker not inside you but in the eyes of others, the same people who once ignored you now, watching your every movement like prey watches fire, and this should feel like triumph, but what coils in your gut is not pride, it is dread, because you know what they do not. This is not the summit, this is the cliff. You have seen this illusion devour countless others, watched them rise and glow and then rot while the world applauded their decay, watched their edges dull and their will soften the moment they began to believe they had arrived, and you know the desert has been waiting for this, has been sharpening this test from the first day, because this is the most seductive death of all, the death that smiles, the death that whispers you have done enough. You can rest now. You can ease up, and if you listen for even a heartbeat, it will wrap its hands around your throat, and you will never escape. Marcus Aurelius stands in your mind like a burned statue at the center of a ruined city, his voice low as thunder beneath the earth. Remember how soon you will be forgotten, how soon all will be forgotten, and the words detonate inside your chest like a buried charge because they strip the glow from everything. They reveal the truth the world hides from itself. Nothing you build will last, not your name, not your empire, not even your bones, and if you tether your discipline to legacy, you are chaining yourself to smoke, so you cut the chain before it tightens, even as the crowd chants your name. Seneca the Younger appears in the silence behind the roar, eyes dark as wet stone, whispering that as long as you live, you must keep learning how to live, and the words pierce your skull like ice because they remind you that you have not arrived. You have only paused, and pausing is the beginning of decline, and decline is death wearing your face, so you tear down your systems even as they succeed. You shatter the patterns that made you rise, you obliterate the comforts that have begun to nest in your routines, because you would rather break everything than let it calcify into a cage. The world calls you reckless. They beg you to slow down, to preserve what you have built. They tell you you are risking everything. They do not understand that you are risking nothing, because what they call everything is dust. You are the only thing that matters, and you are not finished. Epictetus steps through the storm of praise like a blade of black glass, his voice as sharp as the edge of night. No man is free who is not master of himself, and the words hit you like the swing of an axe because they show you the truth you were trying not to see, that the crowd has begun to own you, subtly, invisibly, tugging at the edges of your will, and if you do not sever their hold completely, they will drag you down while cheering your name, so you sever it, cold and absolute, and you vanish. You disappear from the noise while they scream for you to return. You post nothing. You say nothing. You ignore every call. You close the gates of your mind and retreat back into the void that birthed you. Days pass. Weeks. The roar fades to a low hum. Rumors spark like dry leaves. Maybe you are finished. Maybe you have burned out. Maybe you have fallen. You smile, because they will never understand. You were never here for them. You're here for the fire. And fire demands solitude. You strip yourself down again to ash and begin the climb once more, alone, unseen, uncelebrated. And it hurts worse now than it did the first time, because this time you know what you are giving up. And you give it up anyway because you remember what the desert taught you, that what matters is not how high you rise, but how willingly you burn everything to rise again. And you burn it all, willingly, joyfully, because this is who you are. The applause fades like wind dying in ruined halls. The silence returns, but it no longer feels hostile. It feels like home. And as you sit again in the same darkness where this all began, the same faint hum in your ears, the same void before your eyes, you feel the weight of your will settle back into place like a blade sliding into its scabbard, and you understand what the crowd never will. Greatness is not a destination. It is not something you reach. It is something you choose again every day, and the moment you stop choosing it, you are nothing. So you choose it. Again, and again, and again. And this time, you choose without hope, without fear, without need. You choose it because it is what you are. You no longer belong to them. You no longer belong to the crowd, to the algorithm, to the applause, or even to the version of yourself that once crawled through the desert starving for recognition, because something inside you has gone quiet in a way that feels final, as if a door has closed behind you that will never open again. And while the world roars outside calling you a legend, a genius, a prophet, you feel only the stillness, heavy and infinite, like standing at the center of a dead star where gravity has crushed everything into silence. At first you resist it, because silence once meant exile, once meant failure, once meant being erased, but this silence is different. It does not bite, it does not mock, it simply is, vast and absolute. And you realize this is what the desert was always trying to give you, not fame, not glory, but detachment so complete that nothing can touch you, not praise, not hate, not even victory. Marcus Aurelius appears in the blackness around you, not walking, not speaking, simply existing like a figure carved from the void itself, and his voice arrives without sound, weight pressing directly into your mind. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one, and the words ripple through your blood like molten iron because you understand them now in a way you never could before. The goal was never to prove anything, never to convince anyone, never to make them see. The goal was to become undeniable to yourself, to be the thing instead of seeking the label, to walk so far past validation that the world can only follow in silence or be left behind. You stop thinking in terms of videos, posts, growth, and even legacy. You begin thinking in terms of centuries, in terms of stone and bone, asking with every act of creation, not will they like this, but will it still hold weight when every person alive now is dust? Will it still carry truth when your name has been erased from memory? And if the answer is anything less than absolute, you destroy it without hesitation, because you are not here to be relevant. You are here to be elemental. Seneca the Younger comes to you in the dim light of your studio like a figure made of cracked marble, voice echoing as if from a tomb, reminding you that life is long if you know how to use it, and the words reverberate through your ribs like the toll of a funeral bell because you see how much of life is squandered chasing the surface ripples, the numbers and trends that vanish like foam on the tide, and you vow you will never touch the surface again. You will dive until your lungs burst if you must, but you will reach the depths where truth sleeps, even if it kills you. You begin discarding the last fragments of the world's grip on you. No trends, no metrics, no collaborations, no praise. Nothing remains except the work, the ritual, the fire. You wake before the world as always, and the air feels colder now, cleaner, thinner, as if the higher you've climbed, the less oxygen there is. And still you climb, hands bleeding, lungs raw, and the pain does not register anymore because pain is irrelevant. Praise is irrelevant, even success is irrelevant. Only the becoming matters, and you see now that becoming is endless, that the finish line is a mirage, the weak chase, that the strong only walk. Epictetus rises from the floor like smoke turning solid, eyes black and bright like stars seen from the bottom of a well, and his voice is soft this time, almost mournful. No great thing is created suddenly, and the words do not strike you like blows now. They settle on you like ash, because you finally understand the scale of what you are doing. You are not creating work. You are becoming the work. You are not shaping objects. You are erasing yourself until only the message remains. And the thought is terrifying and liberating at once, because it means one day there will be nothing left of you except the fire you carried. The world keeps screaming your name, trying to cage you in their language. Visionary, icon, genius, savior, myth. But their words scatter like leaves against stone because they no longer have hooks to catch on. There is nothing soft left in you for them to cling to, and you let them scream, you let them worship, you let them misunderstand, because they are not part of this anymore, and never were. You are no longer building to be seen. You are building because this is what your hands were made for. You are building because the fire will burn you alive if you do not give it shape. You are building because becoming is the only thing that keeps you from turning to dust. The applause no longer feels like sound. It feels like wind howling through the ruins of a city long dead, hollow and fading even as it rises. And you know now what the desert was trying to teach you all along. That greatness is not measured by how loudly the world shouts your name, but by how completely you can let go of needing it to. You are not a creator anymore. You are not even a man walking. You are the walking itself. You are the motion. You are the silence between footsteps. And as you sit alone again in the dark, the roar of the world miles away, the glow of the screen steady and cold, you feel something like peace settle over your bones. Not the soft peace of comfort, but the brutal peace of detachment. The peace of a blade that has accepted it will cut until it breaks, and even then it will cut once more. You have transcended the desert. You have become the desert. And from this place you see everything. The crowds chasing applause, the desperate scramble for relevance, the endless cycle of rise and decay, and you feel nothing but the calm of stone as time scours it, because you understand now what they never will. Nothing lasts, not fame, not failure, not even you, and that is why you are free. You are no longer climbing. There is nothing left to climb. The air is too thin for breath now, too still for wind, and the world has vanished beneath you like a dream, fading at dawn. All its voices, its noise, its desperate claws, gone, and in their place is only this. Silence, black and infinite, stretching in every direction like the surface of a dead star, and at its center stands you, or what remains of you. Though even that word feels wrong, because the person who once began this journey has long since burned away, and what stands here now is not someone seeking anything but something that simply exists, like stone, like fire, like gravity. You remember the first days, the endless zeros, the hollow echo of your voice falling into nothing, the despair that clawed at your ribs like rusted hooks, the trembling hands, the sleepless nights, the endless waiting for proof that never came, and you almost laugh because none of it matters now. None of it can touch you, because you understand what the desert was trying to do all along. It was not trying to kill you. It was trying to erase everything in you that could be killed, and now that it has, you are untouchable. Marcus Aurelius rises from the darkness like a ghost of bronze, not walking, not speaking, simply materializing as if the silence itself has taken shape, and his voice pours into you like molten metal, low and final. Your power is to choose your own thought, nothing more, and the words sink into the marrow of your bones, because you know now they are the foundation of everything, the law that outlives every empire, that nothing can chain you if you do not chain yourself, that no praise can own you, no hatred can break you, no silence can erase you, because the fortress stands not outside but inside, and you are its architect and its guardian and its only prisoner if you choose to be. Seneca the Younger stands beside him, carved from shadow and scar, his voice like steel cooling in water. The man who has learned to die has unlearned how to be a slave, and the sentence detonates through you like a buried charge because you understand it now, not as poetry, not as philosophy, but as truth, that you had to let every old version of yourself die screaming in the sand so that this version, this unshackled creature, could rise. And now that you have done it, nothing outside you has power anymore. Not their praise, not their hate, not even their love. And Epictetus appears last, cloaked in silence, eyes black and bright as dying suns, and his voice is softer than you have ever heard it, like wind over ancient stone. You are not your chains. You are the one who breaks them. And the words slide into your chest like a key turning, and something unlocks, something vast and endless, and you realize the chains are gone, all of them, even the invisible ones you wore without knowing, and what remains is weightless. You stand here alone, and it is not exile, it is home. The world keeps roaring below, still clawing for your name, still begging to understand you, still trying to catch you in their language. But you are beyond language now, beyond understanding, beyond even becoming, because there is nothing left to become, only to be, and being requires nothing from them. Not attention, not recognition, not survival. And this is what true freedom feels like. Cold, clean, eternal. And from this peak, looking down at the countless creators still wandering the desert where you once bled, you want to reach for them, to place your hand on their shoulders and whisper through the storm that they are not failing, they are forging, that the silence they fear is not punishment. It is proof they have been chosen to walk where few dare to walk, that every day they endure unseen, they are killing their old selves and rising closer to what they were born to be. And if they can survive long enough, they will not just succeed, they will become unstoppable. If you have stayed through this entire journey, if the fire that carried me through the desert is now flickering inside your own chest, then act on it before it dies, because fire untended becomes ash. Subscribe to this channel not as entertainment, not as background noise, but as your declaration of war against the part of you that waits for permission. Do it as your vow to walk closer to God, to anchor your soul to discipline and be blessed every day with stories that sharpen you, fortify you, and call you upward. And write something in the comments as your mark, your oath burned into the stone, strength, faith, discipline, light, unbreakable. Write it so the world can see the moment you chose to stop waiting and start becoming. Because the silence will come for you. It will test you. It will strip you down to bone. But if you stand through it, if you refuse to break, if you choose discipline over views until the desert itself kneels, you will not just succeed, you will become eternal.